So I think while we're starting off, I think we can just kind of begin by doing quick introductions. Last month we did this with the introductions. The quick introductions took. We should wait. We should get started. I'll start. My name is Matt Pearsall. I'm the one of the co-hosts of our new CMX nonprofits and education sector virtual chapter, along with Eli. I just want to welcome you all. Thank you for coming. Let you know that this session, like we're basically doing these monthly, they're meetups. We don't have like a special guest speaker. It's a chance for all of us to connect with each other and kind of form a sense of community of community managers within this kind of special space where we have so I'm really glad that everybody's joining us. In my day job, I'm a community manager for a nonprofit education. I cover both bases in this. A nonprofit education organization called Committee for Children. We make social emotional learning curriculum for kids. So I think last time it worked really well. We popcorn this around. I'll call on somebody else to introduce themselves. I'll call on Eli. Eli, introduce yourself.
Oh, all right. So hi, I'm Eli. I'm here in my kitchen in Vancouver, Canada. And I also am in this hybrid-y space, but not as much as Matt, of course. So I work for a nonprofit called TechSoup, and in that role, I basically act as the cheerleader for about 100 community managers who are each hosting their own local nonprofit technology meetup in their city, or now, of course, online. So that's our educational part of it, but we come out of a nonprofit organization. And so, yeah, I'm just here to basically gossip with other community managers who aren't in the gaming space like all the community managers here in Vancouver, because frankly, those people have terrible lives and I don't want to be part of it. No, really, have you ever talked like with the community manager in the gaming space? They all have like alter aliases for all of their social profiles because they'll all otherwise get stalked because there are some unhealthy stuff going on there. So let's have fun over here.
All right, who do you want to call on?
And I'm going to pass it over to Jasmine.
Thanks. I liked how you referenced just gossiping. I feel like that's a lost thing in this virtual world. So I am the marketing lead for a community of Latinx tech professionals called Tequeria. I oversee some of our community like management volunteers and our marketing volunteers. And that about covers it. I'm excited to be here again. I can pass it along to Jacob. Sorry, I feel like I'm like virtually stalking you lately.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Jasmine. We've been going to the same thing, so that's great. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name's Jacob. I am the community manager over at Fiveable, which is a social learning platform for students. So if anyone has any high schoolers at home that are taking AP tests, you can send them my way. And I think that's it. I'm based in Chicago, if anyone else is in Chicago.
And by the way, throw the links to your cool work into the chat so you can show off a little bit.
Great. And I guess, Erica, since you said you're in Chicago as well, I can pass it to you, the greatest city in the world.
Yep, that's right. Thanks. Well, thanks for, I'm just so excited to be here. I just learned about this event. My name is Erica, as you know. I'm in Chicago, and I work for an organization called Bright Pink. And we are a breast cancer and ovarian cancer prevention organization. And I work with our constituents, whether that be our Hefty Ambassador Group or our Team Bright Pink, our Medical Advisory Committee. I work with them all. So I'm trying to figure out how to implement this community into, kind of weave it into what we do here with all of our volunteers.
And who'd you like to call on next?
Sorry, Liz.
Hey, I'm Liz. I'm the program manager for our community and our community events. at a company called Teachstone. We work in the early childhood field, and our goal is improving classroom interactions between teachers and students. And so I manage a community of educators and our large conferences all the way down to like small webinars and informal meetups. And it was fun to come to the last one. I'm glad that this is happening. Who's left? Sam?
I think. No, hold on.
We can hear you.
Oh,
We can hear you.
there we go. Hi, I'm Sam. I work for a nonprofit called Net Impact. We are students and professionals who are interested in making a difference in the world. We have about 400 chapters in 40 countries around the world, and I work with those chapters. I'm the primary person in our office who works with them and provides leadership training to the leadership teams, resources, all the stuff like that.
I think there's only one person left.
Yep, that's me.
Hadass?
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Hadass. I am Canva for Nonprofit Community Manager on Facebook. We have about 15K nonprofits at the moment on our Facebook community. And what I mostly do is I give out tutorials, support, tips and tricks, webinars, actually one tonight. And this is my first time participating in something like this, so I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all very much. It's great to meet you. I'm glad to see some people from coming back from our inaugural event last month. And I think one of the things that really excites me about this chapter and the potential of it is the chance just to hear what everybody else is doing. And because I think all of us are doing really cool work. We're all doing interesting things, solving interesting problems, or not solving interesting struggling, wrestling with interesting problems. And I think that we have a lot to. I'm really looking forward personally. This is my selfishness in running this is I'm really looking forward to hearing what other people are doing and getting inspired and maybe being able to offer help, potentially, possibly, here and there. So the next part of this meetup is just for us a chance to share. If you've got something that you're working on right now that you're proud of, or that's a work in progress that you'd like to talk about, to get some feedback on, this is your chance to have an open floor. We would love to hear about what you're doing. Anybody want to go first?
I can go first, but I guess if Lori wants to introduce herself first, and then I can go for it. Lori?
Oh,
sure. Hey, sorry everyone. My name is Lori. I head up community support at Khan Academy, which is a nonprofit that provides free online education, in case you're not familiar with it. And I am currently in Guatemala, so my internet is not the most stable.
Nice to meet you, Lori. I don't know if we want to continue doing, should we continue just with introductions? I want to make sure, or what do you think?
Go ahead. You can go ahead and start. We'll
Sure.
pause again at another point.
Okay.
Other people we'll give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Sure. So as I shared, I'm at Fiveable, which is a social learning platform for students, and I've embedded sort of a career development month, being February at Fiveable, because I'm finding that a lot of students don't have access to career services at their school, or they've ceased operations as a result of going remote. And I know that many schools unfortunately don't have funding to hire career professionals, so we've been really trying to be extra intentional about offering these career readiness workshops. And I'm happy to share that Jasmine was part of it as well earlier this month. So we were thankful to have Jasmine be part of that. Informational interviews, resume, how-tos, best practices. LinkedIn is this week, and LinkedIn's actually coming to Fiveable to do like a what they call rock your profile session, because students are itching for this type of stuff. I mean, I certainly did not take advantage of my college counselor when I was in high school, and I should have. So I guess I would pose a question out to the group and say, you know, what would something like this look like at scale? Because Fiveable is about 3 years old, and we will continue to grow, especially during the AP season, which we're approaching. So, you know, what have you all done to sort of manage programming like that at scale? Because it's working out now, but you know, things will shift and needs will change, but I want to continue the momentum because students will always be curious about career development. How do I even write a resume? I can't apply to be an intern at Fiveable because I don't have a resume and they're asking me for one. So I'm just constantly asking myself those questions as to what these types of programming initiatives would look like on a bigger level.
I know one person that does this stuff at scale here. Lori. Like, Khan Academy is the definition of scale.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still just looking into the Fiveable website and trying to get a better sense of what it is. So like maybe could you repeat your question again?
Sure. And you know, Khan Academy definitely bleeds into some of the discussions that students have. I mean, I feel like we do similar work, maybe not directly, but you know, Khan Academy and Fiveable maybe live within the same camp in some regards. And you know, I guess we were founded on the basis of like AP exam preparation and doing, you know, that freemium model where teachers are coming in hosting 4 to 5 hour cram sessions prior to the AP test. And, you know, as an extension of that, we want to have these other mechanisms by which to keep students at Fiveable, and this career development piece is really strong. But you know, as the community manager at Fiveable, you know, obviously the community space will grow at Fiveable, and I just am looking for ways to best manage this career programming space at scale. Because for now it's working, but it won't always work with just like jumping on a voice channel on Discord or jumping on a Zoom. You know, I'm just like trying to think of ideas as to how to manage this better. Because I have high expectations for myself. I'm pretty nitpicky with myself. So I feel like things could have gone a little bit better for Career Development Month. On my end, it's not a result of any of our speakers, but I just wanted to, I don't know, just manage it better.
Is the platform that you're using just Discord, or are there other community spaces?
That's an interesting question. Kind of both. Yes to both. We are building a new product and platform now, but it can't handle like video chat or discussions yet. So Discord is our space. And we're refraining from video chat on Discord because that limits the participation, or the attendance, I should say, to 25 people. So I don't know, I guess we could build like a Clubhouse version of Fiveable on Discord and just have a bunch of audio channels. But yeah, Discord and our product do not talk to each other yet, if you will. So it may be unanswered.
My MO is not particularly, I think, specific to education or even like, you know, a large scale, but just grabbing those evangelists and nurturing them and developing individual relationships with them, and like maybe creating like a private space for them so that you always know you have these like high quality, super engaged members that you can grow from, I've found to be very effective. We have several volunteer people who have gotten a ton out of Khan Academy, really believe in its mission and want to give back. And so we create opportunities for them to like basically participate more in the community and like help other users and make sure conversations stay really active. So that is maybe a place to start for y'all. But yeah, I'm not actually super familiar with like hosting a community on Discord. So that platform might not be the most conducive to that, or kind of like maintaining a larger community and kind of like a larger repository of useful information.
Sure. Thank you, Lori.
When you're describing what you're doing, something that it made me kind of remind me of. Are you familiar with OutSchool?
I just was on their website this morning.
Because that's sort of like what came in. So OutSchool, like, they basically provide a platform for educators to come in and create whatever class they want to create and teach it online. And sort of as you were describing this career event, it sort of felt like it could almost be like OutSchool for career counselors, like so that I could see it being really hard to scale bringing in a person from LinkedIn, or really hard to scale bringing in kind of the celebrity guest, but it would be easier to scale if you are actually like tapping career counselors who are out there doing the work day in and day out, and being able to bring them in to do essentially to do their job on the side. And I mean, I don't, from platform wise, I don't know a lot. I know my organization has looked into stuff like you're doing and looked at the HIPAA and the COPA and the FERPA compliance stuff and clutched our pearls and ran away. But from a organizational standpoint, I feel like that there's a lot of people out there that might be really excited to be able to sort of like do what they already do, but do it online for a broader, more diverse group of students.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I was on their website this morning, so same wavelength. That was helpful. I appreciate that.
I guess I can offer some support too. I would say, one, kudos. I thought it was a great experience / week, and there definitely is engagement there. I immediately, like, the teacher in me, I'm an ex-teacher, former teacher, jumped to like the idea of an elective, because I think students, especially I'm assuming AP students, are probably overwhelmed and like pulled in so many directions. So like, I just wouldn't even try to scale it to everyone, because it might not be something that is accessible or like something they have bandwidth to take on. But offering it as an elective or a resource that's there. And then as far as finding talent or finding those folks, I'm all about like submitting a form and just having like a bank of people. And that's kind of what we do at Taqueria. We just have like an outstanding list of folks who are interested in speaking. And then they're categorized by like whatever topic or interests they have or specialty. I guess the tricky part there is making sure you keep them engaged in the meantime, which, I don't know, that's a job in and of itself to engage folks and keep them interested in volunteering outside of like that initial momentum. But they seem to like to quote unquote give back, so it works out most times.
Sure. Yeah. Gen Z is I've never met a more competitive group of students in my life.
We have a break. We've got one more person that's joined us. Suraj, can you introduce yourself?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I had too many failed attempts to log in, so I had to RSVP with a different email. But hi, I'm Suraj. I'm a community manager at Minerva Schools at KGI. It's a startup university based in downtown San Francisco. It's a 4-year bachelor program, and I am currently also living in San Francisco. Was there anything else? Okay, cool.
That's it. And right now we just kind of got open mic for people to share projects they're working on, questions that they've come up, or things they just want to brag about.
Awesome.
which is perfectly okay, by the way. You're allowed to brag
Awesome,
in this.
thank you.
Anybody want to follow Jacob?
A much maybe simpler question that I'm just like curious about. I am curious where your job sits in the like departments or teams of your company. I'm on a team called the programs team, but it's kind of an interesting thing because the community is its own standalone program. And so I'm a sort of like a team of one. And there's obviously marketing overlap, there's product overlap, there's engineering overlap, there's customer support overlap. And so I partner with a lot of teams. But depending on their goal, I always find it's like it might not match up with my goal. Like we try to not have the community feel very sort of salesy or have a lot of marketing language in there because we I feel like that would make me run to the hills. But I'm curious just like how other people handle that or like what the goal or structure of your community is. Anybody?
Sure. Hey, it's Eli here in Vancouver. So yeah, at TechSoup, we're a nonprofit, but we're really structured much more like a social enterprise. So within that, my big team is marketing. Then within that, there is sort of a sub-team of community, which is forums, social, events, and the volunteer-led meetup program. So that's sort of where we sit within the team itself. I have a follow-up question afterwards, which is going to be like, do you have sales or acquisition goals? Let's talk about that next, but continue on.
And I think I'm in a pretty similar position to you, Liz. So I sit in the marketing department, which I think would be a really terrible fit, except that in my organization, the marketing department is kind of the most nimble of the departments in my org. And so I kind of am a department of one, off doing my own thing. I feel pretty much like I'm minimally supervised off in a corner doing my thing. But one of the things that kind of helps me do that is that before I moved into this role, I was on our product team developing products. So I feel really comfortable going outside of my department and going to other places in the organization and asking for help and badgering people to help with questions and things like that whenever I need to. So it's nice. It's also really kind of weird and awkward too, in a way, in that I feel disconnected sometimes from our broader organizational goals, and which is fine as long as people think it's neat and interesting. But boy, wouldn't it be nice if I was a little more connected to something for when the shine wears off of the community.
I can share my experience. I work as a community manager. I'm also a residential live-in staff. So my work is primarily with students, but fortunately, because my workplace is a university, there's a lot of diverse ways to connect with students and create a sense of community in that. And so we have a lot of traditions that sourced from student experience, which was different from student affairs, which was much more conduct related, operations related, visa related. And now we've kind of gone to this student life umbrella term. And so I'm just part of this bigger team of people who take care of students. And some take care of students by doing career related goals. Some people take care of them by offering academics. And I offer it by being part of this community and hosting community related events. Fortunately, the university has been established for 5 years now. So they have a bunch of traditions that they used to do in person. And now my role just involves trying to translate the values and outcomes in a more digital setting, or maybe explore some hybrid asynchronous events that doesn't necessarily translate exactly the same way, but it keeps them engaged and excited. But there is a certain push from students being like, this is our university. There's like school spirit that kind of pushes along. So
how are you doing that? I want to know more. I want to know more about how you're taking live traditions and making them digital.
It's a lot of regrounding in finding cool platforms to work with and how we can translate some of that. So I can give an example. One of the traditions we have is at 10:01 p.m. So initially when the first class started, they had an assignment due at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night. And then when it was 10:01 p.m., everyone was done with their assignments. And there was this energy of like, what do we do? What do we do? We want to celebrate somehow. And then one of our staff came up with the idea of cooking for each other. And it turned into this tradition of weekly cooking, but it was based on nationality. So because our college has students from more than 50 nationalities, every week a new group of students would cook for each other, present their country, and get to learn about stereotypes, cultures, music, like anything that's relevant to that country. And so in a digital setting now, we just cook the food, but we deliver it to everyone's rooms so that it's COVID safe. We wear our masks and gloves, but they're still able to enjoy a little bit of the food and more so of the presentation and games that they do on GatherTown, on Zoom, on Spatial. So we're always like looking. We have a big database, like you said, Jasmine, with your speakers. We have a big database of platforms we can use. What are their pricing plans? How much of it is free? And so we're always like looking for the next cool thing to hang out in or engage with the students now. So kind of like taking a tangent from your question, Liz, but I think it's been a little bit easier, at least in my position, because as the residential community manager, I get to see the students, I get to engage with them. I have 10 RAs who work under me, and so they also feed me like trends and concerns in the community. So I'm actively listening to every week in our weekly meeting. I'm actively getting to hear like what has been of concern is, oh, somebody had some visa issues. Oh, it's hard to get a social security appointment. How can we make it better? And so I think that has been really helpful, at least for my position.
Where are other people? Where are other people kind of situated in your organization? Are we all kind of marketing-ish, or are we? It seems like a natural place. I think I see that a lot. That the community kind of starts out at least and under marketing, which kind of brings us to what was the question you had, Eli?
Yeah, so if we're all in marketing, marketing often has some pretty, like really strong metrics, some really goals around that, whether that's around like acquisition, if you're working at the top of the funnel, or maybe around sales. Love to hear from people if they have as part of their goals, like a strict, like a really accountable number around acquisition or sales. I guess I will start and say, not really, honestly. It's been pretty loosey-goosey for a long time, partially because it's just like it's been hard to track things because we've been on Meetup. As I transition into a tool where I actually will have people's email address, what a miracle! There's going to be some opportunity to start doing a little bit more of that lifetime journey. But at the moment, I'd say I got nothing for you, which is also why I am a under-resourced team of one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At Khan Academy, and that we have our program, which just engages like teacher super users and kind of like supports them in leading like PL sessions for around like Khan Academy and implementation. And so that's kind of the metric that we use to kind of like rate the success of that program, is how many PL sessions were led, how many teachers were trained from this teacher ambassador cohort.
And you do and I was just looking at what you put in the chat, Lori, about where you're situated yourself. You're in the
product.
When you said you're in the product community, is that like when I go to a Khan Academy lesson and I see at the bottom there's like a chat space where people can comment on is that the part of the community space that you're running?
Yeah, that's right. So under every like article and video, there's a space where you can ask questions, leave comments, or feedback. And on YouTube as well. Like those are areas that my team manages. And then we also have a support community on our Zendesk platform where people can provide peer support. And so my team manages all of that. And so that's definitely like not marketing focused. It's more just about like how to use the product correctly. And we're in the product organization in part to make sure that like the of these users and their pain points, and we can advocate for their needs.
Mm-hmm. In my organization, I don't have any. I'm kind of like Eli's place. I don't have a lot of expectations of driving sales. And I'm not exactly sure how to like capture that. Our organization sales tend to happen at a very high level, at district level. So there's a very small number of people that we're actually targeting for making sales. But that trickles down to all these people that use our actual programs, all the teachers and counselors and people like that are using our programs in schools, is where I am. And what we're starting to focus on is more on like trying to measure retention. My organization is making a giant, for us, shift from selling boxes of paper once every 10 years to selling digital curriculum that gets renewed every year. And so that's a big shift for us. And as part of that is making sure that everybody, not just the people at top, but everybody is happy and wants to renew. And so I think that's where we're headed, is trying to, as we see the community is playing a really important role in retention. How we measure that is very TBD. But at some point I'll be responsible for actually like proving that I'm worth keeping around.
Yeah, most of the metrics I track are more of like community health metrics. We use the model, happiness, engagement, and task success. But as far as like what I report to, like sort of the highest level and like the board, the main things, like there aren't, yeah, I'm sure I would love to be able to connect the work we do to revenue, direct revenue. But I think similar to marketing efforts, like you don't know if that blog post actually made anyone buy anything. But I think the one like direct revenue resource would be our events. We like I share like what our profit margin is on our annual conference. And then outside of that, the main things are just like what percentage of new members are logging in and then logging back in 3 months later. So like at least like very short-term retention. Like did they come to solve one need and then never come back, or are they coming back at some point? And then just our like average NPS score of community members. We have people that use our products and are not part of our community, and have people who use our products and are part of it. And as far as I've been tracking it, the people who are part of the community have always had a higher NPS score than people who aren't. And
that's an interesting way to track it. Just kind
exactly.
of
And similar to to all marketing efforts, you could say correlation or causation. Someone who's engaged in the community is probably a more engaged purchaser, and so of course they're going to be happier. But
I say you should take all the credit.
Yes, exactly. But I'll still take the credit because they're allowing me to. So those are the big things that I share. NPS. Time on site.
Yeah,
but time on site was tricked. It felt less meaningful to me.
Yeah. I really like that compare members, non-members. Well, I was actually just last week meeting with the person in our organization. We're putting together our NPS survey that we're going to do later this year. And then it's like, she was like, how do we get community involved? But our community is small still, so it's hard to like actually ask questions and expect to get enough answers. But I think we could just ask if people were involved, and then we have this, then we can do that comparison back and forth. And that doesn't put a lot of weight. I don't have to like overburden the the survey itself with questions and still get
the other
some
thing I
interesting
find
data.
is, and maybe this is unique to our community, but there are people that are active in the community that don't know that they're part of the community. They call it using the blogs or finding resources or joining a discussion. And so if you say like, did you enjoy the community? They're like, no, I don't think so. Like, I wasn't in there. And you're like, no, you've been in every day for a month. And so like, I try to not trust user reported data in that sense of like, fill out the NPS score and then we'll decide whether you are a community user or not based on if you used it or not.
I like that idea. I think we struggle, well, we're in Slack, most of our community happenings, and by default, just Slack doesn't really measure great kind of anything. So we can only see like messages and participation in that aspect, which isn't always great. And I've also noticed that our community, and speaking with like partners, corporate sponsors, or community sponsors that engage with our community loves to react with like emojis or nonverbal or non like text-based reactions, which is hard to gauge because you can share something and get 200 reactions but 3 comments, or only like positive feedback or only constructive criticism. So I've started looking at kind of a few different aspects. I'm also like more on the marketing end, so I look at all different platforms naturally. So I've been looking at how our events or offerings are kind of expanding from our Slack community into other markets or into other platforms, because our audience is so spread out. We do have like that gap of like, or a shift in audience in different platforms. So like our LinkedIn audience is kind of way different than our Slack. And then as a diverse organization, we're always thrown into conversations when anything diversity pops up in tech. So then counting like tweets or retweets or mentions wouldn't be relevant, because sometimes they're like cold calls of just like, hey, check out Tequeria, hey, do this, which is awesome because I think it's great. It's natural, brand awareness of anything else. But it's hard to then measure our impact in that manner. I've also just like, if I'm ever in a space with users, I always ask for like organic feedback, just for my own curiosity, which is interesting. I just had like a meetup this morning and I got some nice feedback, but it was definitely like very organic and raw, and like how to translate that would be like, where does that classify exactly? So some of that's just like us ideating on future planning and like programming. We'll just take it into account.
Well, yeah, thank you for Eli just posted a link to a blog post around gauging sense of community, which I found just last week because I was dealing with some of this stuff too, and I was like, I stumbled across that blog post and was, it's really useful for kind of figuring out ways to
I
measure
stole this,
sentiment.
of course, from a CMX conference in Portland, probably going back 3 years ago. As we all do, no one has come up with something new and original as far as I can tell. So you had done a lot of surveys just on like how do you feel about the community, like NPS scores. But I was trying to figure out like where some of my gaps were, because I was getting a sense like where people weren't engaging. And so there's actually this academic model they've got, which is sort of this needs assessment, sense of community survey based on these little weird, you'll see like these, 1, 2, 3, 4 hexagons. And through these standardized survey responses, you can kind of see like, oh, where am I below the average, because they've run the same survey across thousands of organizations at this point. So you can say like, okay, it's all basically averaged out, and you're like, am I on or above the average? So like, I'm doing really awesome. I'm like, woo, being a member of this community makes me feel good, but I am not in this place where helping people get their needs met. And so there's a couple different questions here around this. Like another one around membership. You'll see like, oh, I've got a huge problem here with like the community has symbols of like a membership, like those kind of ritual things is a big gap in my community. So that's what I learned by going through this sense of community survey process. And I'll just drop the link into the chat. But yeah, I think it's interesting because it's not me just making up questions myself, which is what I've been doing, but actually coming out of this ridiculously like rigorous academic setting. And actually they insist that you actually input your own responses back into their central database so they can keep on adjusting the community averages.
This is all really interesting to me because I mentioned before I work for Bright Pink, and Bright Pink doesn't have a quote unquote community. They definitely do, of course, but I work within marketing and development as the constituent relations manager. So I'm really working with our what used to be our boots on the ground ambassadors. And they used to be out there doing workshops, that sort of thing, kind of letting people know how they can assess the risk of ovarian and breast cancer and how they can manage it. But now it's a little bit different, of course. And so everything's gone virtual. And I really think that because we're utilizing Instagram so much, we're utilizing so many other platforms, that we need to have one place that's centralized, like Slack. Unfortunately, Jasmine, thank you for mentioning that, because now as I'm like starting to take things in there, I can understand where some of the shortfalls are going to be. But it's I don't have a budget for, of course. So Slack is great for that. But I guess kind of just interesting to hear all of this stuff on how to measure some of the engagement with the members, and is really helpful so that I can kind of while I get there, until I get there, I can start, planning it out a little bit better. But I guess overall for the group, if there's any, I don't know, helpful, like I said, I'm like starting. I'm just starting how to putting this all together. So if there's any advice or information that you could provide, that would be awesome.
I mean, I would say that as an extension to what I had posted earlier, I am not the biggest fan of Discord, but we know that that's where our audience is, so we're meeting them there. And the analytics and the server insights are so detailed. You can download them. You can, look at the retention rates week over week. You can set custom dates, and it's all free. It's all part of the server, the Discord server. We just became a Discord partner last week, which allows for more sort of features, if you will. And in order to become a Discord partner, you have to have a certain level of engagement. So that gives you a goal as a community to reach. So, I'm happy to, talk offline with anyone about like what the Discord transition from Slack actually has been like. And I'm eating my words a little bit because I was skeptical about the transition, but it's been whether I like Discord or not, it's been working in our favor. So I'm happy to share whatever anyone needs in that regard. The only thing I don't like about Discord is that there are no threads. I hope that they bring that soon. I don't know if anyone's heard any rumors about that, but I hope that Discord starts with threading conversations.
Great, thanks.
I'm interviewing at a few places that they're running like a gazillion different Facebook groups for educators that are super big. And I'm super curious as to if any of you are managing Facebook communities in education, how you are kind of comparing the data from there to like data in like your sales and CRM to kind of compare like community, like how community health affects sales or how it affects like retention or anything like that, because I find it really hard right now. Like I don't see a tool that directly like compares like Facebook data to things that are in your CRM, unless somebody else has a tool like that. That would be super cool.
Our groups are on Facebook. And there's not, I mean, and I think there used to be, and then Facebook locked things down a few years ago and those went away. It's really hard to figure out. There's really no way for me to be able to figure out who these Facebook people really are without manually asking them. I don't remember, I asked where this came up somewhere recently that like CMX, they ask every person who registers for their email address and then manually pull that email address out of the Facebook survey that you do at the beginning and put it into a database, which I tried doing when I first started, and it became, well, when the COVID pandemic happened and our community started adding 300 people a day for a little while, and I was like, I can't keep up with this. This isn't good for tracking on it. So we just don't, which is hard. I was just thinking, I don't know if you were on, Jessica, when we were talking about this, but Liz had something that I really liked, which was putting a thing in when doing like surveys of doing an NPS survey of clients, asking them, are you a member of the community or are you a member of the Facebook group? And then being able to see what the people that then you have like a subset of people who in that survey who are members and a subset who aren't, and you can compare them and see if there's any trends there. I thought that was a nifty idea to be able to.
Thanks, Matthew.
Sort of track on that.
I was in a community manager chat on Clubhouse recently, and they were using the thing that you were doing of asking for email addresses in the like questions to join the Facebook group. And somebody mentioned that there is a Chrome extension that you can install in your browser that will then take those form results that you're getting from Facebook and somehow connect that to a CRM. I haven't found it yet though. So maybe we can research that together, because I don't know, that could be
that's a good idea.
Thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I also, I mean, another thing that I do that sort of runs from the other direction is that, oh, wait a minute, I know where this conversation came up, because we were having this conversation on Slack. You asked this question, and okay, now I remember. Something else that we do is we run it the other direction. We gather a lot of information from people who join on webinars, and so we have a big database of emails, and I'll do recruiting emails for the communities, kind of running it backwards, and then we are able to track about when we spam people around our communities, how many people look at those spam. I shouldn't say that. When we generously offer the information about our communities to people, we can see on that end how many of our clients are actually going and clicking. We can't actually directly connect who's joining, but we can see who people are interested in, whether people are. So that is one way to sort of gauge it.
Shopping around for a new like scheduling platform for our community or our organization marketing wise, and some of the new features on like Loomly and Sendable, they offer integrations with CRMs, so depending on what you're using, you could integrate through there automatically. I know there's probably a more technical way of talking about that, but I do know that it's an option. Specifically, I know Loomly integrates with Slack and HubSpot, I believe, which is why we chose that, or I'm currently trialing that out because it'll be more seamless. So we'd be able to see analytics on that end from all of our social platforms, and then also our community, or have them pipe into our community.
On Monday, we read about what substances were.
Well, we are closing up on the end of this. Does anybody else have any questions they wanted to bring forward or stuff they wanted to share, the stuff they're working on?
which are characteristics
Well, then it brings us to the final part of this. Oh, actually, first of all, before we do our final part, Jessica, you never got a chance to introduce yourself. Could you just who are you?
I'm Jess Falkenthal. I've been managing online education communities since 2004. Right now, I was laid off during the pandemic, so I'm interviewing at a few places for director of community gigs. But I've been planning as a volunteer, I've been planning a whole bunch of conferences for educators, like ed camps essentially, in the past year, which has been really, really fun. And teachers have been loving them. So that's me.
So the last few minutes of this, I want to set aside just for people to make announcements. If you've got an event coming up that you'd like people to know about, or something else something maybe not an event you're putting on, but some other like a webinar or meetup or other thing that you think people would be interested in, or if you've got something that you're putting on and you want to tout it, this is the time to do that as well. So if anybody's got stuff they want to let us know about, let us know about it. Oh. Well, the group selfie comes after that.
Go ahead, Lori.
I was going to say I would just love to connect with everyone on LinkedIn. It's a rare niche that we work in.
Here, so you can all just drop it in the chat, drop in our LinkedIns. I'll put mine in there. Also, would people be interested in a LinkedIn, like an actual LinkedIn group for this group? A place outside of CMX Slack to meet, or does that end up being too many spaces at once?
I'll admit that I neglect my personal social media, anything platforms, because I'm just on other ones for our org all day. So that might not be a perfect fit for me, but I'm not sure about other folks.
you don't have a good grade in there.
I'm not browsing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. I prefer this answer because then I don't have to make another thing and manage it. So we'll just keep. And CMX Slack seems to be working pretty well for organizing this stuff as well. So, but you all get some sort of, I don't exactly know what the back end of Beppy looks like, but you'll get some sort of survey or something like that. And I think you get a chance to join. If you officially join the CMX Connect this chapter, then you also get the emails letting you know about things that are coming up. Which is for which brings me up my last bit of business that I wanted to tout. Actually, you know what? Before I do the tout business, and everybody leaves because who cares about that? Let's get that selfie. I want to get I do this old school style, and I'll actually just take a picture of the screen. It's a little more retro. So everybody say cheese. There we go. And only a little bit of my work in the background there. All right. Thank you for reminding me to do that. That's actually an official thing I'm supposed to do, and I forget to do it all the time. So the last thing I wanted to do was to let you all know that we're going to be doing another one of these in March. The plan is to do kind of like an informal meetup like this every month for this group, so we can kind of get together and have a similar sort of like kind of open structure where we get a chance to talk and meet and connect a little bit but we'd also like to be able to do more formal things where people kind of come and talk about particular topics, more formal meetups. If any of you are interested in being featured in those, if you've got a particular kind of thing that you're passionate about that you'd like to share with this CMX community, feel free to let myself or Eli know. Or if you've got people that you'd recommend that you want to hear from that you'd like us to go hustle around and try to get, let us know about that as well. Because in addition to these monthly things, we can also be organizing stuff that's a little more focused. All right. So I think with that, have we gotten everybody? I don't know what happens to the chat out of the way, so make sure everybody's gotten all of the LinkedIn stuff out of there. And with that, oh, did you raise your hand, Jessica? Jess? Oh. I just want to say thank you all very much for coming out again. I'm really excited to be able to kind of have this, like Lori was saying, this little it's a niche within a niche of people who are doing this kind of work with these communities. And I'm really glad to be able to have a chance to connect with y'all, and really happy to be able to meet with all y'all. So
thanks for doing this.
So take a look out. We'll be doing these next month, and we will see you then. Welcome back, Eli. Just in time to say goodbye.
Sounds good. And stay tuned. I'll be publishing the next event date later today.
Cool.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.